Hello and welcome everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a new episode of The World Today, where we are going to discuss many headlines published on national and international websites. We are going to focus on our local and regional arenas. Before we start, let me first welcome my dear guest live here in the studio, Dr. Bahidin Ibrashi, member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And we are going to start immediately from Al-Ahram online, where we read, Al-Sisi, Trump agree to delay UN vote on Israeli illegal settlement activities. Egypt has agreed to postpone a UN Security Council resolution against Israeli illegal settlements activities in order to give the US a chance to resolve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. The office of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi released a statement saying so on Friday. Sir, it was yesterday when this postponement took place, and today there was a phone call between it was released that there was a phone call between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and American President-elect Donald Trump. Regarding the simple man in the street, or we, as not experts, are not going to explain or understand the delay as it should be. Why? If you permit me to say so, there are a lot of complications around the issue. Many resolutions from the UN Security Council regarding the Israeli occupation in general since 1948, and till the moment, unfortunately, nothing happened. But now, to give a chance to the new American administration, is it the proper way to deal with such a sensitive crisis or a sensitive issue, a sensitive cause like the Palestinian one?
Yes, I think it's absolutely appropriate now that we have a new president who is actually reflecting a completely new policy on many issues, and including probably the Middle East problem, to give him an opportunity to contribute, to understand, to make a position, and to deal with this problem. The only thing we heard from Trump during the whole campaign was that he was intending to go along with the movement of the embassy, U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. There was a decision long ago and to do that by Congress. The administrations always postponed it. I have to also highlight that the embassy, the U.S. embassy, is proposed to be done in the Western Jerusalem, not the Eastern, not the historical Jerusalem. But it has never really been executed, and Trump said that he will do it. Now, definitely we don't want to have Trump not feeling that he cannot cooperate with Arab leaders in the area. We want to give him a chance, and a postponement of a decision or a UN Security Council proposal is a sign of cooperation without giving up anything on the merits of the case. It's only a procedural decision.
Yes,
we will give you an opportunity. It doesn't really mean that we are changing our position as to the essence of the settlement.
But since you've mentioned Donald Trump as a new president and with new policies, time proved that the American administration, whatever are the changes in it, it's not going to change the policies of America. And Donald Trump of the campaign is not Donald Trump of the White House. And to add to this, the one who was appointed as the American ambassador to Israel is a hardliner attorney, meaning that there is no light by the end of the tunnel if we are going to speak about something nice which should happen in the Middle East or in the Middle East peace process, at least in the short term. If you would elaborate on that, sir.
Well, yes, that's true. He has the nominated ambassador is a hardliner. He was his lawyer for many years, and he is a Jew and a hardliner on Israeli security. But you have to realize that he's the ambassador. He's not the Secretary of State. So, of course, any ambassador cooperates within the embassy, within Israel, but doesn't necessarily would be overruled definitely by a more moderate Secretary of State.
Yep. But you know what was for me amazing is to have those two words in the same statement, hardliner and the diplomatic. Diplomacy and being a hardliner, it doesn't coexist together, I mean.
That's correct.
And taking you to the Cairo Post with some good news. Egypt to operate 4 weekly flights between Germany and Sharm el-Sheikh. Egypt will operate 4 direct flights a week from Germany to the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh as of Friday in an attempt to return the number of foreign tourists to previous levels. These were the statements released by the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome to tourism back. I think that's very positive. I think from a security point of view, Sinai should be comforting to foreign tourism, regardless of any other issue. And therefore, we want to encourage tourism back to Sinai, and I hope it will happen.
But, sir, this should lead me to what's going on worldwide. It seems as if it is the Christmas mania, the Christmas fever, but unfortunately in a terror way, or a terroristic way, I should say so. What's happening in Berlin? What's going on in Turkey? I mean, worldwide, there is something wrong. I don't know about the timing. Do you have any explanation why these attacks are taking place in this very special timing of the year?
I think it's it's coincidental, the timing of year. I don't think it's basically an issue of Christmas, post or pre-Christmas, as much as it is a reaction to the military threats that are being imposed on Daesh, on the military fronts inside Syria and Iraq. I think this is basically a reaction to what is happening.
In a retaliation of what's going on in Aleppo and Mosul, in Syria and Iraq respectively.
That's correct. And had those military confrontations happened in March, the reaction would have happened in March. So I think the issue of Christmas is coincidental, and it's definitely more related to a reaction to the military confrontation that is happening in Syria and Iraq.
But the access to the heart of Berlin, for example, sir, is frightening. I mean, since they do have the ability to do such things inside big cities worldwide, here I'm talking about Germany, a big Western power, and Turkey, and I mean, is it that easy? When I decide to go and to attack others, I will? I mean, is it normal?
Well, I mean, the issue, of course, of Germany, it was simply, there was no bombs. It was simply somebody ramming with his truck into a crowd of people, killing now 12 people. Here I want to also draw a distinction between Daesh and Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda were basically Arabs that had training in Afghanistan and activities in various countries like Yemen, like Syria. Daesh has been much more successful in recruiting Muslims, Arabs and non-Arabs alike, living in Europe and the US, especially in Europe.
At least from Arab origins.
Some of them are of Arab origin, some of them are not. Some of them are Pakistani, some of them are from
Eastern
Afghanistan
Europe also.
And Eastern Europe,
Eastern
exactly.
Europe, yes.
And therefore they have some sort of support base within Europe, and they recruit this. And this is the danger of Daesh compared to Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda.
What's amazing, really amazing for me, sir, that there is someone who is ready to commit suicide, someone to sacrifice his soul. Someone who knew well that whenever he is going to perform this or to execute this on the ground, he's not going to return home. I mean, this is brainwashing operations taking place worldwide. This is for me even more dangerous than bomb attacks.
That is correct. This is very true with very strong ideologies. You will find this in some religious ideologies. You'll find this in also strong ideologies which were not religious. Like, for example, the communist attacks pre-communism. There were labor movements and people were ready to sacrifice their lives. When you have a strong ideology, when you have an overimposing or overarching ideology, sometimes it reflects itself in the willingness to sacrifice your life.
Taking you to The Guardian and to speak about what is taking place as we speak now. Hijacked Libyan plane lands in Malta with 118 people aboard. An airliner on an internal flight in Libya, Al-Afriqiyya, to be accurate, Afriqiyya company in Libya, was hijacked by a man claiming to have a hand grenade on Friday and diverted to Malta, where it landed with 118 people on board. This piece of news was a little bit earlier. It already landed, and Malta's prime minister said that there are 2 on board, 2 hijackers, not 1, 2 with the hand grenades. Till the moment, I think 109 were released, including women and children, thank God. But what's really strange also that till the moment nobody knew why this plane was hijacked and what are the demands of the hijackers.
Well, the hijackers are pro-Gaddafi, that's what we know.
This is what we heard, media
that's
reports.
What media reports that they are. And they are probably as incomprehensible as Gaddafi himself. So if they are supporters of Gaddafi, probably they are as incomprehensible as Gaddafi himself. So it's not very clear exactly what do they want out of that. It's probably reflects something of a sense of lost cause that is within Libya, where they still are struggling with how to formulate their future.
This is to add to the liquidity of the Libyan state. And this is to add to what's taking place there, lack of security, the disputes among the tribes, the disputes among the 2 governments which are already running the city, between what's going on in Sirte, between Faiz al-Sarraj and Aqila Saleh, the Speaker of the Libyan Parliament. Who is to blame, sir? I mean, whenever we're speaking about this, should I, for example, blame the NATO campaign, which ended with this chaotic situation years ago? Should I blame the tribal disputes? As I said, should I blame those who are unfortunately thinking about their private or personal interests far from the best interest of Libya? Who to blame?
Well, probably if you go to the roots, you'll probably tend to consider also blaming Gaddafi himself, who has diluted the significance of the state and turned it into some sort of interplay between tribal warlords. Nobody, when he passed away or when he was killed, there was very little of the state institutions to deal with and more of the tribal presence.
Yes.
So probably the root of it is the damage to the nationhood that happened during Gaddafi.
Yeah. To the Daily Star, where we move from Libya to Syria. At least one dead in rebel fire on regime-held Aleppo, and this was the very first attack on Aleppo since the evacuation of the rebels and the civilians there, or since the Syrian army retook Aleppo. Taking Aleppo or regaining Aleppo is a major turning point in the war. Unfortunately, about 6 years. And Bashar al-Assad said that he is sharing this victory with Iran and Russia. Should I take this as a good omen? I mean, should I be optimistic about the future of Syria and of ending the violence there? Or this is only one step in a long road?
I think it's hardly a step forward. It's a circular step because basically it doesn't present, it's not an accomplishment of Syrians. It's more an accomplishment of the Russian involvement.
Yeah.
Primarily Russian and secondary Iranian.
And Turkey.
And to a lesser extent Turkey. It's a little bit of a different aspect, of course.
Sure.
It is shifting its policies now dramatically and aligning them more and more with the Russian, with a different caveat. Basically, Turkey has its own agenda where it wants to minimize the strength and presence of the Kurds along the Syrian
Their
border.
own interest.
That
far
is
from
basically,
any other.
yeah.
Yes?
So that's a
Meant for
different
that.
story. But when you look at this whole accomplishment, it's basically a Russian and Iranian involvement. And so long as they are foreign forces, it really doesn't mean it's a very lasting difference.
Yes.
How is it bringing us to a better solution in the future? Nobody knows. Everybody knows that the regime of Assad has committed a lot of crimes against its own people, and it hasn't really submitted any proposal for a compromise. So a success on the military front is simply what it is, a success on the military front because of Russian involvement. But does it really bring a more compromise within Syria and within the Syrian forces towards rebuilding a Syria of the future? It doesn't mean anything, in my opinion. And it's probably delaying the reset of the whole situation in Syria rather than indicating a way
But
forward.
don't you think that it should pave the way for a diplomatic solution or for talks? I mean, this is just a part of the story. But to pave the way for the other parts to be tangible on the ground? Or
I'm not so sure that paving... You remember when we had a problem in '73 when we confronted Russia? The Americans and Kissinger and Nixon said that the way forward to have a settlement is no victories. So he tried to minimize the Egyptian victory in the war, and he also didn't allow a super situation to the benefit of Israel. It had to be somewhere in between.
Kissinger.
It was Kissinger.
This
but
man.
When you look here, now a victory of Syrians over the other troop will make Bashar al-Assad probably more obstinate. So the best is not a victory. The best is a stalemate, and then they talk. What happened here was a victory for Assad, and probably this is not going to be bringing us any closer to a compromise with the other factions.
For 5 years now, from time to time, I kept on asking my dear guests this question. Do you think that with the complete disappearance of Bashar al-Assad, Syria is going to be back?
No. Bashar is a bad face, but it's not the only problem. It's much more, it's about building a unity. It's building a unity rather than simply getting rid of one person. You can get rid of one person and be lost. And that's not necessarily a solution.
Amen to that, sir. From Syria to Yemen, where we read from the World Bulletin, coalition used banned cluster bombs in Yemen. That incident came a day after Saudi Arabia joined the US and Brazil in abstaining from a UN General Assembly vote that overwhelmingly endorsed an international ban on cluster bomb use. From time to time, we hear about these cluster bombs, about chlorine, about the nerves gas, about chemical weapons in general in Syria, now in Yemen, and I don't know where it's going to be revealed later. Sir, regarding this, does it mean that every time we are going to hear once again about something against humanity, about crimes against humanity being taking place in these places, until when? I mean, Is it because of the international intervention, as you've kindly mentioned, or is it because the peoples of those countries had given those international efforts, powers, the way or the chance to come and to intervene and to do whatever they like in their countries?
That is correct. If you want to build the country, the people of the country has to find a way to compromise. When you look at what happened with the use of illegal weapons or banned weapons like the cluster bombs, this has been used by the Saudis, and it was British made. And now it's used by the opposition, and it's Brazilian made. At the very end of the day, sellers of weapons just sell and make money, and
all the accords are ink on paper.
Absolutely. What really is the way forward is to find a political solution among the different political
By whom,
players.
sir?
But no one will replace the people. The leaders of the country themselves have to come to this compromise. War is only an expression of inability of coming to a compromise.
The inability.
Yes.
It's a key word here. I do have only 1 minute. Unfortunately, the UN Security Council, the Arab League, the African Union, if it comes to Africa, big bodies, international organizations, but unfortunately, they are not doing enough for the sake of humanity in general. Till when? Or this is what we should get used to?
This is sad, but everybody really cares primarily for his own interests. And I think the leading countries are losing steam in spending more and more effort and money to help third parties, and third world countries have to begin to find solutions for their own.
Dr. Bahauddin Al-Ibrashi, our dear guest, our political analyst of this episode of The World Today, thank you very much for your input, sir.
Thank you.
Well, by this we come to the end of this episode of The World Today. Till we meet again same time on Nile TV International, many thanks for watching. This was Nermeen Abdurrahman.